Good news, the coronavirus pandemic is in decline. Bad news, the Great Reset, where you will own nothing and be happy, is being brought about by economic policy decisions made by your government that will facilitate the advance of the most powerful interests on earth. Oh? Hello there, you 4.7 million shimmering wonders. Thank you for joining us on this journey towards awakening. Everybody is welcome here. All of your opinions in the comments below are vital as we discuss how a new agenda is being asserted. This is not conspiracy theory. I'm going to read you the actual facts here. I'm just using rhetoric that's appealing. I'm an entertainer. Look at my cardigan. Look at my haircut. But the fact of the matter is, Wall Street wants to be your landlord. Decisions are being taken at the level of government that are apparently to benefit the humble people, the normal people, home buyers, but that may end up advancing Blackrock, Vanguard, the most powerful financial interests in the world. Let's get into it so we can understand it better together. While the US government and the Federal Reserve have told American citizens the nation's economy is hunky-dory, investigators looking at statistics know something is not right. The public is well aware that the US central bank increased its monetary supply more in 2020 than any year prior in the country's history. And many of us have been thinking, surely all these measures that were taken during the pandemic, the deferment of payments, the support of massive business interests, is going to down the line have some kind of economic impact on us. Also, some of us feel like whenever there's a crisis, have you looked at Naomi Klein's shock doctrine? Whenever there's a crisis, there's a concomitant opportunism from venture capitalism. That's not a mad thing to assert. That's how they operate. If there's a crisis, there is an opportunity in that crisis. Following the infamous Black Thursday on March 12, 2020, people might assume US mega banks are carrying mountains of US dollars. Be that as it may, what's really going down is the Federal Reserve and the American banking cartel currently sits on top of massive heaps of mortgages, land titles, and an itch for single-family homes. Of course, it's not that long ago since there was an enormous financial crisis where the government stepped in to ensure that Wall Street and many banks and great big insurance companies remained in business when, by virtue of their own rules, the pursuit of profit, the, survival of the fittest, all those ideas, they would have gone down. So I suppose when something like this emerges, a story like this, we have to pay attention because this is something that could create global shockwaves. Something is up in the land of US real estate as data and a number of opinion editorials show that the Federal Reserve and US megabanks are seemingly manipulating the market. This story is one of those complicated things about world finance, full of phrases like NASDAQ and Amtrak and click-clack and things that make you go, I'm not listening to this, it's too boring. But actually what's really happening is a global conspiracy is taking place and you can see the individual jigsaw pieces. So stay focused and pay attention because they want you dumb and not understanding what NASDAQs are, which I don't. Mainstream media has been reporting on the real estate market going haywire with demand, but experts on social media are digging further. Some have been speculating that the real estate bubble in 2020 and into 2021 is the start of the global elite's Great Reset agenda. Now you're interested. While many think that the Great Reset is merely a conspiracy theory, the US property market indicates the likeliness of a possible future where you will own nothing and you'll be happy. It's not really a conspiracy theory, is it? There's a video with them sort of saying it and stuff, isn't it? They've got into a lot of trouble to make it look all nice. Hey, that was a conspiracy theory. What's this video? Conspiracy theory? The constitutionalist commentator, Cultural Husbandry, believes this is the case. Blackrock, bit of an evil name for a company. Hello, Blackrock here, and this is my friend, Dark Crystal and Darth Vader. Blackrock is buying every single family house they can find and paying 20 to 50% above asking price and outbidding normal home buyers. Why are corporations, pension funds and property investment groups buying entire neighbourhoods out from under the middle class? Well before COVID-19 made headlines in the US, central banks worldwide invoked massive monetary easing policy changes. Alongside this, well before COVID-19, the Federal Reserve and Wall Street banks were buying up retail and commercial properties in the form of mortgage-backed securities. These are difficult story sometimes to understand, but we're talking about the movement of huge amounts of finance and speculating as to what the impact might be on ordinary people. Don't you get like a kind of eerie feeling when you hear like Blackrock are buying up entire neighborhoods? Sometimes these things are quite dense and difficult to understand, and I think that's deliberate, and I think we have an obligation to personally investigate and make ourselves aware of what's happening, because otherwise you just go, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, and dismiss it. No, this is what underwrites things that would otherwise be regarded as conspiracy theories. You could say something like, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And you think, piss off, don't tell me what to do. But then somewhere, don't you think, well, how are they going to do that? What are the phases going to be where property is extracted, the ability to control your own resources is extracted? Well, it's this. Centralized investment facilities will start to acquire resources that previously were the domain of, as it says here, single families. That's cultural engineering. That's using the interests of the powerful to alter an entire society. Wall Street's latest real estate grab has ballooned to roughly $60 billion, representing hundreds of thousands of properties. In some communities, it has fundamentally altered housing ecosystems in ways we're only now beginning to understand, fueling a housing recovery without a homeowner recovery. That's the big downside, says Daniel Immergluck, a professor of urban studies at Georgia State University. During one of the greatest recoveries of land value in the history of the country from 2010 and 2011, at the bottom of the crisis to now, we've seen huge gains in property values, especially in suburbs, and instead of that accruing to many moderate income and middle income homeowners, many of whom were pushed out of the home ownership market during the crisis, that land value has accrued to these big companies and their shareholders. I'm beginning to understand. In the past, when house prices go up, you think, oh, that's good because Beryl and Stan own a house and they'll get a bit of money when they sell it, which they'll give to their kids or whatever. Now, it's all, oh, that's good news. Blackrock and Vanguard own that house. So the wealth is being transferred. You know, I say things all the time, like it's the biggest wealth transfer in history. You know that, right? Put in the comments below if you're aware of that. But this is the wealth transfer. This is the individual movements of it. And isn't it interesting that the mainstream media reports this as, good news everyone, housing bonanza, it's going to be great for normal families, when the real story is, hang on, who's buying these houses? Is it actually big financial institutions, not ordinary people? Before 2010, institutional landlords didn't exist in the single family rental market. I learned the other day that's what capitalism does. It continually looks for new markets. Now there are no new markets. They have to sort of invent them. That's why big tech is so powerful, because now the market's a consciousness itself, your attention. Now there are 25 to 30 of them. From 2007 to 2011, 4.7 million households lost homes to foreclosure and 1 million more to short sale. Private equity firms developed new ways to secure credit, enabling them to leverage their equity and acquire an astonishing number of homes. So that was the last bloody crisis. There's that massive crisis that they caused. Now there's this crisis, which just happened, and now they're benefiting from that. Hey, there's a crisis. Right, back off, you bastards. A crisis will help. Now, fuck off. Throughout the country, the firms created special real estate investment trusts, or REITs, to pool funds to buy bundles of foreclosed properties, as REIT enables investors to buy shares of real estate in much the same way that they buy shares of corporate stocks. REITs typically target office buildings, warehouses, multifamily apartment buildings, and other centralized properties that are easy to manage. But after the crash, the unprecedented supply of cheap housing in good neighborhoods made corporate single-family home management feasible for the first time. There's some good news and some bad news. Give us the bad news first. You've lost your family home. What's the good news? Massive corporations can profit from your misery. Hooray! The REITs were funded with money from all over the world. An investment company in Qatar, the Korea Exchange Bank on behalf of the country's national pension, shell companies in California, the Cayman Islands and the British Virgin Islands all contributed to colony American homes. So America doesn't really belong to America. America belongs to external financial interests. The same thing happens here in our country. You look around, you see these green and pleasant lands and stately homes. But if you look into actually who owns it, it's all owned elsewhere. It's an illusion, a mirage. Even your country and your patriotism is a veil that is used to exploit you. By the middle of 2013, private equity companies had raised or spent nearly $20 billion on single-family real estate, and more than 100,000 homes were in the hands of institutional investors. Blackstone's invitation homes rate accounted for half that spending. By October 2012, as Stephen Schwarzman, the chief executive of Blackstone, said, the company was spending $100 million on homes a week. Neighbourhoods that were formerly ownership neighbourhoods that were one of the few ways that working class families could build wealth and gain stability are being slowly, or not so slowly, turned into renter communities, and not renter communities owned by mom and pop landlords, but some of the biggest private equity firms in the world, says Peter Coons, the former Los Angeles director of the activist group Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment. The more you go into the story, the more you see what the pieces are for a dumb idiom like you will own nothing and you will be happy. No, I won't. I'm going to keep hold of my stuff. No, what'll happen is there'll be crises, and in that crisis, stuff will happen to you that you couldn't anticipate, and you won't be able to control it because you're a little person, and the government won't support you. They'll support the interests of powerful people. Then what'll happen is they will exploit that opportunity to own more and more things till eventually you're left with nothing, creating a more and more unequal society with a tiny, tiny elite where everybody else is just out in some barren wasteland, owning nothing, having no resources, and forced to just be pitted against one another like it's a bloody Hunger Games or something in order to survive for an oligarchy of the increasingly powerful. I think what's important here is to stay alert and aware as to what's happening in the mainstream media, where every story seeks to pit the vaccinated and unvaccinated against one another. Oh, they're the villains. They're the villains. Meanwhile, a mega corporation, in this case Blackrock, are making it impossible for ordinary people to own their own homes, fulfilling the terrifying prophecy, you will own nothing and you will be happy. And where is our attention? Oh, the unvaccinated. Oh, the vaccinated. Hey, you guys, look at those unvaccinated. They're ruining society. Hey, you guys, look at those vaccinated. They're ruining society. Hey, while I was looking over there, what happened to my house? Oh, I own that now. You own nothing. Are you happy? No. When credit was tight after the financial crisis, the acquiring firms led by Blackstone figured out a way to generate more of it by creating a new financial instrument, a single-family rental securitization, which was a mix of residential mortgage-backed securities collateralized by home values and commercial real estate-backed securities collateralized by expected rental income. With the securitized homes, the rental income now needed to cover not only the mortgage but also the interest payments distributed to bondholders, creating an incentive to keep occupancy and rents as high as possible. What is really dangerous to tenants and communities is the full integration of housing within financial markets, says Maya Abood, who wrote her graduate thesis at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology on the single-family rental industry. Because of the way our financial markets are structured, stockholders expect ever-increasing returns. All of this creates so much pressure on the companies that even if they wanted to do the right thing, which there's no evidence that they do, well, that's true. All of the entanglements lead to an incentive of not investing in maintenance, of course, transferring all the costs onto tenants, naturally, and constantly raising rents. Even little tiny nickel and diming, if it's done across your entire portfolio, like little fees here and there, you can model those and you can predict those, and then that can be a huge revenue source. Invitation Homes and Blackstone insist they have no impact on the housing market other than to set what they describe as a higher standard for quality across the board. How dare you! We're setting a higher standard for quality across the board, room that I run and give the profits to our investors from. So don't accuse us of that. You will own nothing and be happy. So I know there's a lot of financial density in that document, unless you're a really well-educated person in those particular areas or have a natural understanding of it. Let us know in the comments how you dealt with all of that stuff and what other similar stories you'd like to see covered. But what's clear to me is that you can make the journey from something that seems like a conspiracy theory, the Great Reset, something that seems too immoral to contemplate, but crises are exploited to generate profit for the powerful, something that seems ridiculous and unfair and reductive. The function of government is to facilitate the extraction of wealth from ordinary people and place it in the hands of elites. And you can just see those are the cogs, those are the wheels. That's how it happens. But that's just what I think. What do you think about it? And what do you think we should do? Let us know in the comments below. Do we need more truckers movements? Do we need more Indian farm protest style consolidation of people? Is this the time for us to stop focusing on what the media wants us to look at, vaccinated versus unvaccinated, and start focusing on the interests of the powerful versus the interests of 99.9% of everybody else? Is that that what we should be doing? Let me know in the comments below. Give this video a like, circulate it around. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at this one or have a look at this one. Please sign up to my mailing list so I can stay in communication with you. I'm appearing live all over the country that I live in, the UK, from March, April and May. So come see me if you want to. Stay free.